book on Wattpad and you're staying up till 3 AM reading this one book. Yes, it emotionally wrecked me. I actually cried reading this book because these books will make you 2025, and honestly, I'm not lying, they kind of changed my life, just saying. If your 2025 reading year has been pure chaos, then welcome, you're in the right place. Today I'm doing the Mid-Year Freakout Tag, but make it cozy with comforting, diverse reads. I'm sharing my favourite reads, my disappointing reads, books that wrecked me, and also books that I need to read before this year ends. So grab a cup of tea, light a candle, and let's rant. Starting off with my favourite book of 2025 so far, it's As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow. Now, if you're like me and you've had this book sat on your shelf waiting to be read, go and pick it up right now, because trust me, this book will change your life, and I'm so sad I didn't pick it up sooner. I think I was intimidated by it because I knew it emotionally wrecked people, and yes, it emotionally wrecked me. I actually cried reading this book, and I don't cry often reading books, but genuinely, like, this book was worth it. But As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow is about the main character Salama, who lives in Syria, and obviously she's endured so many horrors whilst living there, but she's also a pharmacist, and she feels like she has a duty to stay, not only for the people, but also for her sister-in-law who is pregnant. And while she's battling with the decision to leave her home country for a future of safety, she ends up meeting this boy called Keenan. Now, Keenan is a boy who definitely wants to stay for his home country. He wants to risk his life. And it really follows these two young people who, despite all odds, fall in love with each other. And they're dealing with so much trauma, and there's so much like emotional depth to this book, and I'd highly recommend every single person who has ever come across this video, who has ever come across this book, to read it, because it generally is like my Roman Empire. I think about it constantly, and I'm so happy that this is like my favourite book of the year so far, because I don't think anything can top it so far. Like, it generally is like a 6-star read for me. The next category is the best sequel. Now, I don't actually think I've read many sequels this year. I've been reading a lot of romances and a lot of standalones. So speaking of romances, This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan is an amazing romance book, and this is like another 5-star read for me. I was so surprised by how much I loved it, and if you're looking for a romance book that will give you that emotional depth but also has great banter, and also, you know, you really see the character growth and it's like very character driven, then I'd highly recommend Kennedy Ryan in general, but in particular the Skyland series. And this book follows the main character Soledad, who is dealing with her husband who's basically just betrayed her, and she's in the middle of divorce, and she meets a man who she really is not interested in a relationship, because this book talks about the importance of self-love and respecting yourself and being in a relationship with yourself before you get into a relationship with an actual partner. And yeah, I really loved it. I'm definitely going to reread it and annotate it. So if you've not read this book and the first book Before I Let Go, I'd highly recommend. And then another sequel which I've remembered that I really loved, I was lucky enough to receive an arc of the second book from the Iron and Embers trilogy. I think it's called Bones and Fire, and oh my god, if you are looking for your next romantasy fix, then this is your series. Not only that, this author has like a 6-book series as well, so there's so much to keep you busy. And the reason why I love Thorn and Fire is that the fantasy world building is so incredibly intricate, and yes, like, it is a romantasy. The focus point is between the two main characters. However, there's actually a plot, and it's just really gripping, and it has all that banter you need in a fantasy book, but it also has that high stakes adventure, so I really like that. And then another option I thought for the best sequel, it's not really a sequel, I'd say it's more like a spin-off of this world. It's called A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping, and this is such a cozy, magical book. Think of the Weasley house from Harry Potter, but just make it absolutely like diverse and full of magical people and just full of home comfort. It is such an incredible book. As an Indian person myself, I thought it was great representation, and there's also such a diverse range of characters which I really enjoyed reading. So if you've not got any of these books on your radar, then you should definitely pick these up, because these books will make you 2025, and honestly, I'm not lying, they kind of changed my life, just saying. So next up is a new release I'm excited to read, but I haven't started yet. Now, I feel like this year has been amazing for new releases. I mean, we have Sunrise and the Reaping, we have like A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping, we have Revolve coming out by Balcabra, which was amazing. We've got Coldwire coming out by Chloe Long. There's so many incredible books which I'm looking forward to. But for a book release that's already been out but I've not read yet, I've heard so many great things about The Night and the Moth, which is like, I think is a romantasy, and it just looks really cool. I've seen so many people go on about the writing and the world building, which I absolutely love. And of course, would I not be an Aura Kwang stan if I wasn't looking forward to Katabasis? Is that how you pronounce it? And I know this book technically hasn't been released yet, but trust me, I am going to be the first one who will be picking up my pre-order from Waterstones and reading that, because I just know that will be potentially another 6-star read. And then also another release which I'm surprised I haven't read yet is Oathbound by Tracy Dion. Now, I've read Legendborn a few years ago when it first came out, and then I just completely forgot to pick up the next book in the series, which I'm sad about, because when Oathbound came out, there was so much like positive reviews and so much going on Book Talk and on Bookstagram, and I was like, I'm getting FOMO. I definitely want to read this book like as soon as. I think at first I was just waiting for the paperback to be released because I bought Legendborn in paperback. But I think I'm just going to commit to Kindle reading because I just really want to get back into my young adult fantasy books. And I just felt that book is just going to really like fill that gap in my heart right now. And again, books that I'm really excited to read that haven't been released so far. First one is Holly by Adeline Grave. I really love Belladonna and like the gothic sort of vibe, and I think it actually had a plot twist that surprised me and that got me hooked onto the series. I still feel like Belladonna is my fave from the series so far, but I'm definitely waiting to read Holly and I'm very excited to read it. Another book I'm really excited to read is the sequel to A Tempest of Tea. Now, I loved this book so much. It really reminded me of Six of Crows, but maybe slightly even better. I love like the tea setting because I'm a British girlie who loves a cup of tea. And it was really cool because it had like vampires and like the plot was just so interesting. There was plot twists. I'm so excited when the sequel releases because yeah, I feel like that might be another 5-star read. And then finally, I'm also really excited to read Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. I really love how comforting her romantasy series, Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows. I generally feel like these books were low-key like the blueprint of romantasy when it first came out. And yeah, I just really like her writing style, and I think this is going to be a really sweet book to read. Now, onto my biggest disappointment of the year so far. Say Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. Like, I mean, I do remember it. I remember how bad it was, and it disappointed me because I normally love Abby Jimenez's books. They're normally like 4 or 5-star reads, and when I saw this book, I was just like, yeah, I need to read this straight away. As soon as it was released, I read it, and unfortunately, it really disappointed me. One, I feel like I didn't really read like a romance book, purely because the main character is struggling a lot with her family life and her family member having dementia. And yeah, so that was a bit like an emotional like toll to read out. Maybe I should have listened to trigger warnings, but I didn't really think it would affect me that much. And 2, I feel like the characters got together straight away. It was very insta-lovey. I didn't really feel like there was lots of tension between 2 characters and their relationship. It was more so like outside external circumstances which were affecting their relationship, which they couldn't really control. As soon as one thing would happen, another bad event would happen to the main character, and it was just like setback after setback after setback, and I was just getting very drained reading it. And I know some people loved it, and I'm happy that other people loved it. That's amazing. But I think at the time I rated it 3 stars, but the more I think about it, it probably is a 2-star, 2.5-star read. And then another book which really disappointed me, I mean, I kind of went into it having low expectations anyway, and that is the Strawberry Patch Pancake House by Laurie Gilmore. When this book was released, I just wanted to read it because I fell for the cover. It was really cute, it was pink, and I'm pretty sure the Work Special Edition had like pancakes on the side. I just thought that was so like cute and wholesome. But when I was reading it, I felt like the plot wasn't that interesting. It didn't really grip me. I couldn't really feel the chemistry or even the tension between the 2 main characters. And as a small town romance book, the small town kind of got on my nerves. And sometimes I think the whole point of the small town romance book is to feel like it's a cozy environment, like you just want to step right in, like you want to live in that small town. And unfortunately, I did not want to live in that small town. I did not want to live inside this book. And I probably should have DNF'd it, but I kind of like hate read the rest of the book. And yeah, that was another 2-star read for me. I feel like a book will very rarely be a 1-star read, and I think if it is a 1-star, then I probably just DNF. Now, onto the biggest surprise of the year. I feel like definitely going back to As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow. I was very surprised by how much I would love this book. I knew it was going to be a good book from what I'd heard about online, but I didn't feel like it was going to be like a 6-star read and like a book that I could honestly say like will be one of my favourite books that I'd recommend to people. So this book really surprised me. And then we also have First Time Caller which surprised me because I rated this, I'm pretty sure, 5 stars, and I wasn't expecting to love this book the way I did. I think it was just such a unique book, and I think it focused all about love from different aspects, such as from friends, from family, from children, from being a mum. I liked how the main girl Lucy had like a normal job. She was a mechanic. She ended up being pulled onto this radio show all about love. And the male main character, Aidan, who hosts the show, I just think he really reminded me of Jesse from Pitch Perfect, but in like the best way possible. I liked how he was witty, he had banter, and he also noticed all the small things about Lucy. And yeah, I think I really like this book because it felt so different to what we currently have in the romance landscape. And I know this book is inspired by the movie Sleepless in Seattle, but I still really loved it. And I'm excited to read what B.K. Barrison writes next, because I read her previous books and I didn't enjoy them that much, which is why this book surprised me so much. And yeah, I'm really excited about the spin-off of this series. Next up is a book that made me cry. Now, as an emotional, sensitive girly, I actually don't cry a lot whilst reading books. I think maybe I'm just able to like compartmentalise my feelings and just remember I'm reading a fictional book, which is crazy. So if a book managed to make me cry, then it's like it's changed my life, it's done something. And Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan definitely made me tear up at some parts because it was just such an emotional book, and definitely check the trigger warnings if you are planning on reading this book. Yeah, this definitely really impacted me and I was getting emotional. There was a slight lone tear dripping down my face, and going back to As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow, I wasn't like sobbing, but like they were rolling down my face. There was actually a big plot twist in this book, and that plot twist had me crying. I think this book really opened my eyes up to the genre of historical fiction, because I don't read a lot of books in historical fiction, and I do want to like read more into that genre and see if I can find more books to make me cry. So if you're watching this, let me know if you have any books that made you cry in the comments below, because I really want to feel that emotionally invested in a book, because it really happens to me. Next up, we had a book that made me happy. Now, first up is The Baby Dragon Cafe, and this was just the coziest book I really needed to read. You're just going through stuff in your life and you just really want to read a comforting book, and this book provided all of that and so much more. It had me smiling, it had me giggling, and I just really enjoyed it so much. And I'm so excited to see what Amna Qureshi does next, because I really liked her writing. Next up is Spiral, going along similar lines on the fact that I can't believe I was reading a sports romance book with like a POC female main character, and her character just embodied the word soft girl, and it was just such a cozy read. And I really loved this book for not only what it was doing for like representation, but also just for like providing a really cute sports romance book. And this definitely reminded me when you find that absolute gem of a book on Wattpad and you're staying up till 3 AM reading this one book, and this evoked the same feelings for me, and I really loved reading it. And I was so happy. I have actually read the sequel, Revolve. I got an arc for it, and that book also made me really happy. And I think I found like my new favourite romance author, and that is Val Cabra. I really love her books, and if you've not read this book, or if you've not had it on your radar, then I'd really recommend it. Other books which made me really happy, first up is King of Envy. I eat up an Anna Huang book every single time, and I just loved like the male broody main character, and it was just so funny. I like how it actually had so much more going on in the plot, and this definitely had me giggling, kicking my feet up in bed, and I literally binged it in like basically a day because I was so excited to read this book. And finally, this is a small stack of my physical TBR of books that I really want to finish by the end of this year. If you didn't know, I recently reorganised my bookshelf and did a whole video about that, and I actually built myself a TBR cart because I really want to knuckle down on finishing books I actually own. So first up we have The Final Strife. I don't know much about this book, I've just seen it hyped up online, and I know it's a fantasy book, and I've been really craving to read a good fantasy book that will have my mind just blown with all like the plot twists, so this is definitely on my TBR list. Next up is The Balloon Thief. Now I love that feeling when you go into a new bookstore and you've just found a book that you've never heard about and it just sounds so interesting to you, and The Balloon Thief did just that for me. And what pulled me in from is first of all the cover. I mean, like a hijabi on a fantasy book, that is like amazing. And also when I was googling this book, the author is from Manchester and I'm from Manchester, so of course I had to represent. All I know is that it seems like a really like magical book, and it's set across in the sky, and there's like a romance going on, and there's a bit of revolution, and it just sounds really interesting. So I really want to finish this book by the end of this year. Next up, we have Never Thought I'd End Up Here. This is a recent Waterstones buy. I vlogged this on my book talk of going on a hunt to find this book when it released early in June because I really love this author and I think this is going to be such an amazing book. I think it's like a YA romance that kind of gives Enemy to Lovers vibe, and the main girl is travelling to like find her roots, but she's also like on a journey with this boy, and I think that's really cute and wholesome, and I think it's going to be a good read. Next up, we have another fantasy book called The Stardust Thief. This has also been on my radar as the sequel was released this year. I've been seeing my mutuals talk about it a lot. It's a young adult fantasy and it's very magical, and to be honest, that's literally all I need to know, because that, and combined with the cover, makes me want to read this book immediately, so hopefully I'll get to this by the end of the year. And another book which I picked up, which I had no idea about because I hadn't seen it online, is The Singular Life of Arya Patel. Now, this follows this girl who finds herself falling through parallel universes, and she keeps meeting the same boy Rohan into every universe she falls into. And yeah, I just feel like second chance romance, star-crossed lovers, parallel universe, that sounded right up my street. And plus, again, it's South Asia representation, so of course I had to add that to my list. So I definitely will be trying to finish this before the end of the year. And finally, we have Babel, because let me tell you about the story about Babel. If you follow me on Bookstagram, you know that I picked up this book, put it down, picked up this book and put it down, because I just can't get into it, but I know I'm going to love it. I think every time I read it, I'm kind of in a bit of a slump, and that doesn't help. And I have already tabbed some things that I've loved about the book, and I really want to finish it because I want it to be like another 5-star read. And it is really interesting the way it talks about colonization, how it's affected languages, and I think reading that in a historical fantasy is amazing, so I definitely need to finish this book. And honestly, I think this is a pretty exciting stack. Let me know what books are on your physical TBR to read this year. And if you've read any of these, I'd love to know your thoughts. And that's a wrap. I can't even hold all the books because I mentioned so many in this video. But I'd love to know what's been your best or your worst read so far this year. And if you're looking for more cozy, diverse reads and comforting books, then I'll link my cozy, diverse Spring Rex video and also my cozy bookish vlog where so much chaos happened in that video. And thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate you. Every video I post, I get so excited to upload because it's so fun posting on YouTube. And yeah, stay tuned for my video next week. Bye!